Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Bud Light. Bud Light has been devastated right before Labor Day. The first holiday we were looking at to see what was going to happen to Bud Light was Memorial Day. Bud Light sales destroyed for Memorial Day. The next one, the really crucial one, was July 4th. Absolutely destroyed for July 4th. Now Labor Day is coming, and an article in Yahoo tells us it looks very bad for Bud Light headed into Labor Day. Their business is broken and it's not coming back. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. I'm trying to get to 30,000 subscribers, so if you can't subscribe, please do subscribe. Coming from Yahoo Finance, Bud Light sales see little momentum going into Labor Day. Bud Light sales are still lacking flavor. Anheuser-Busch InBev's Bud Light volumes crashed 28.1% year over year for the week ending August 13th, according to new data from Circana and Evercore ISI on Tuesday. Bud Light has seen annual volume declines of more than 28%. The boycotts have absolutely ruined this brand. Wait until you see these numbers 6 months, a year from now. They're going to be worse. And it's been more than 28% in each of the last 4 weeks. The one positive: volume declines have improved from a 32% drop at the height of the controversy surrounding the brand for the week ending July 2nd. The Bud Light uproar started after transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney created an Instagram post during the March Madness basketball tournament endorsing the light beer. Following the post, though, on April 1st, Anheuser-Busch saw Bud Light sales trend lower through April. The declines appeared to accelerate following an April 3rd video from musician Kid Rock, which spurred a wider boycott by many on the right. The most viral video in this whole thing was Kid Rock with an AR-15 blowing up cans of Bud Light with gunshot after gunshot. To try to stem the sales weakness, Budweiser offered U.S. consumers in most states a rebate of up to $15 on a 15-pack of lager for July 4th, and industry experts have pointed to additional discounts on Bud Light since July 4th. The discounts are ridiculous. They're practically giving the beer away for free, or it's 33 cents a can, and even with that, their volumes are off around 30%. But those efforts have largely fallen flat. The sales pressure has stretched well into the peak summer drinking months as the controversy has continued to play out on social media and in national headlines. July 4th was their do or die. They didn't make it on July 4th. People still weren't buying the beer, no matter how cheap it was or if it was free. That killed them for the summer, and it's now basically killed the brand. Anheuser-Busch InBev has used the challenging sales moment to lower its costs. Earlier this month, it inked a deal to sell 8 of its beer and beverage brands to cannabis company Tilray. That's an $85 million deal. It closes in September, which means they get $85 million at the end of September for those 8 brands they had to sell off. The brands being sold included notable names such as Shock Top and Blue Point. Analysts are speculating if more cost cuts are needed given the uncertain outlook for Bud Light. And what that means is layoffs. Massive layoffs. I did have an industry insider who emailed me earlier yesterday and told me they may be selling one of their large breweries in the state of New Jersey. Quote, continued weakness begs the question of whether Anheuser-Busch InBev and or its distributors will have to make significant structural changes to reduce their cost basis if trends don't improve over the next few months. Evercore ISI analyst Robert Ottenstein wrote, well, of course they're going to have to make cuts. Of course, they're going to have to make significant structural changes. That's when you close down plants, sell off plants, lay off hundreds and thousands of employees. Anheuser-Busch directly has already laid off around 360 employees, 2% of their roughly 19,000 employees, but none of those are the people that actually make the beer. They need to scale down their capacity now because basically a third of their business volume is gone. And even worse than that, it's not really equally a third or so nationally. In different pockets, it's better than other places. In the South, it's horrendous. Could be up to 90% off for their volumes, 70% off for their volumes, talking about South Carolina, North Carolina, Florida, anywhere from 60 to 90% off. So how are you going to service those areas? You can't do the same business you used to do just because maybe somewhere in Alaska, it's still like only 10% off. Well, that doesn't help you in terms of averaging your cost and fixing your business structure to produce and deliver things. And of course, that's just at Anheuser-Busch's level. They still have to rely on these distributors who also have all kinds of problems because of them. Distributors were counting on Anheuser-Busch not ruining their brands. If you're in the business of selling things, you're not expecting your suppliers are going to just blow themselves up for completely no business reason. Anheuser-Busch InBev stock has fallen 7% in the past 6 months as the sales declines persist. The Standard & Poor's 500 has advanced nearly 10%. So the S&P 500 has gone up by 10%, while Anheuser-Busch InBev stock has gone down by 7%. Meanwhile, Molson Coors shares are up 17%, while Corona maker Constellation brand stock has gained 15%. Massive benefit for Anheuser-Busch's competitors, massive destruction for the Anheuser-Busch company and the brand. Now, from another analyst, so it's not just from one source, this is coming from Zero Hedge. They did a good article talking about a write-up on Anheuser-Busch, specifically because of the failures with Bud Light from Citi, also known as Citibank. Bud Light backlash shows little signs of abating, Citi warns. The Bud Light backlash shows no signs of stopping. Anheuser-Busch InBev's U.S. volumes tanked 15.2% this past month, according to Citi, citing new data from Nielsen. The brewer has not apologized to its base drinkers for its tone-deaf transgender TikTok campaign in April. Here are the main points of Citi analyst Simon Hale's note to clients about the ongoing backlash to Bud Light's social media campaign. So Simon Hales is a professional business analyst who works for Citi, aka also known as Citibank. Investors pay Citibank for good analysis on stocks. Should we buy this stock? Should we sell it? Should we hang on to it? That's their job, to give an analysis on these stocks for investors. And here's what they wrote. Anheuser-Busch InBev beer volumes dropped by 15.2% in 4 weeks. The market average decrease is 2.8%. Beer price mix increased by 4.1%. Total dollar sales for beer fell by 11.7%. Anheuser-Busch InBev's total value share decreased by 484 bips. Beer value share dropped by 555 bips. Bud Light backlash persists. What's a BIP? Those are basis points. BIPs or basis points, or otherwise known as BPS, are a unit of measure used in finance to describe the percentage change in the value or rate of a financial instrument. 1 basis point is equal to 0.01 1/100th of a percent, and that's what a BIP is. We do need to know those kinds of things if we're interested to know what's really going on with the business. Bud Light backlash still persists. Bud Light contributes approximately 30% of the group Anheuser-Busch InBev's total U.S. revenues, 8% of their total worldwide revenues. Bud Light volumes are off 29.7%, previously 29.9%. Budweiser volumes are off 25.3%, previously off 26.2%. Absolutely disastrous business-changing numbers. There is no way around it. And I'm not happy about this, but I know there's going to be massive layoffs here, and we know they're losing a lot of shelf space at major and even small retail stores because the stores can't stock the beer. If they can't sell the beer, it doesn't even matter if the beer is free. The store only makes money on transactions. They have to sell it. In the U.S. beer, flavored malt beverage, cider, and seltzer markets, Anheuser-Busch InBev is the only major brewer experiencing widespread declines in total value share and volumes in the last 4 weeks. Anheuser-Busch InBev's brand portfolio is suffering at a time when U.S. beer, flavored malt beverage, cider, and seltzer markets are marginally growing. Citi's Hales, the analyst, shows Anheuser-Busch InBev sales are at a critical low, where either the brewer can revive demand through proper marketing, maybe an apology might work, or face a second exodus wave as drinkers switch to other beers. An in-depth view of Anheuser-Busch InBev's declines by brand. So this is a picture and it just shows drop-offs by brand. We know it's essentially Bud Light's the one that's the worst, and the other sister brands are also doing badly. Unfortunately, it looks like Budweiser is getting murdered as well. Hale shows Molson Coors has been one of the biggest winners following Bud Light marketing. Vice President Alyssa Heinerschied's move to nuke the brand with woke transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney. She was eventually fired or just left the company on leave. We still don't really have a conclusion as to what happened to Alyssa Heinerschied and her boss Daniel Blake. Supposedly they're on leave, but it really looks like they're fired. In a separate report, Deutsche Bank analyst Mitch Colbert warned Bud Light faced a 25% permanent loss of its business. That is an accurate number. Billy Bush, the heir to the Anheuser-Busch dynasty, made a few recent television appearances telling Anheuser-Busch InBev that he would buy back the ailing brand to make the beer great again. Obviously, to be free from being woke. Bud Light's PR nightmare, combined with the summertime marketing flop, has failed to revive the brand. Could consumers have finally seen through the facade and realized Bud Light has just been handing them pretty worthless water masquerading as beer for years? Meanwhile, the new top-selling beer in the U.S. is Modelo Especial. Epoch Times explained more. Modelo Especial is now the top-selling beer in the United States, surpassing Bud Light, whose popularity has plummeted in the midst of a lengthy boycott. Data from Nielsen IQ shows Modelo Especial sales at beer and grocery stores. Those are off-premise sales, meaning that you would not consume the beer at the place that you bought it. On-premise sales are like restaurants, bars. You would drink the beer where you bought it when it's on-premise. And Modelo Especial, as we've covered, has exceeded those off-premise sales of Bud Light for the year 2023. The fact that we became the #1 beer in America due to a competitor's moves is not accurate, Jim Sabia, Executive Vice President and Managing Director of Constellation Brands, said in a recent statement. Several brewers in the Mid-Atlantic region told them they've increased light beer production and expanded portfolios to take market share away from Anheuser-Busch InBev. For anybody who's really looking for a real American-owned beer, try Yingling or anything actually owned and brewed by Americans in the United States. There's also this phony report going around that was obviously skewed to try to save the Bud Light brand and protect the Anheuser-Busch stock. At least that's my take on it. From the New York Post, Bud Light wins back 15% of boycotting drinkers following Dylan Mulvaney fiasco, survey claims. Bud Light has won back 15% of the Americans who were boycotting the beer after its disastrous tie-up with transgender influencer Dylan Mulvaney, according to a survey out of Deutsche Bank. But listen to how silly the survey is structured. The proportion of Bud Light drinkers who say they are unlikely to buy the brand in the next 3 to 6 months fell from 18% to just 3% in July, as if people are going to plan their beer purchases for their own households 3 to 6 months in advance. No, the people who are not buying Bud Light now are not going to be buying Bud Light in another 90 days. It's not that important of a brand. It wasn't a high-quality brand to begin with. The brand is easily replaced by its competitors, as we see is happening in all the sales reports. This is the end of that brand, and leading into Labor Day, Bud Light is getting absolutely devastated. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. I'm going to keep covering this story until we get to the end of the Bud Light story. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.